Really interesting comp. Yeah, we both ahead of time thought maybe it was the Era goalie. I think you've seen that. He played more. We saw Soren played a couple weeks ago, but yeah, going for the Amy goalie here, which can be a little bit risky, but can create an exciting offense. But a very, very standard Oni Village comp here from Soondubu.
Yeah, and immediately it's paying off, taking both of these barriers here as Gramello trying to dribble past Fudgy and is able to, and the pendulum swing is enough to secure the first point immediately for Soondubu.
Yeah, and that shell of the Rasmus and the Kai, you know, you didn't get the Estelle, but both of those picks just have so much hit stun, just do exactly what you need to on this map. And so I think a lot of the I've casted a lot of the Demons Raw games, and it feels like they kind of need a little bit to find their footing, both game to game and kind of in the season, because they've been role swapping and all of that. It is Gumi, Goalie, and Fudgy back in the midfield this time, and also with this comp, it feels like something that maybe you're going to have to figure out how to score, how to play this, because it's not what you traditionally do on Oni Village.
Yeah, most definitely. This comp is very much like you just want to be in their face on the offensive end, but honestly, Soondubu is doing a really good job of kind of counteracting this, keeping the pressure, keeping the momentum of the game and the tempo on their side, which is really not what you want to see if you're this Amy goalie air midfield comp, as it's just so much pressure on the side of Soondubu.
Yeah, and Threezy with that secondary is able to get it all that pressure paying off, and just no consistent attack has been able to be set up by Demon's Rock quite yet. Snake is dribbling and trying to make that happen here, but with a lot of energy, the only real risk is Gramella dying, but he's able to feed it to Threezy Breezy, and so far in these first 2 points, it just looks like Soondubu is very comfortable in what they're doing here.
A very dominant start, kind of just with these like comfort Oni Village picks. I mean, they're just piloting them perfectly, and it's making it really hard for Demon's Rock to really find any offense, and that is just kind of what you really need, as they immediately take 2 barriers here as well.
Yeah, and it's called Soondubu Village for a reason, as Threezy Breezy puts it into the top side. You know, at the LAN, their last S tier win, it was a lot of Oni Village that allowed them to get to that grand finals, and then I think they won it at least in one of those maps in grand finals as well, and they look very comfortable on it here. That's what we've been saying the whole time as they 3-0 there. But going into this draft, like you said, the Kazan didn't really get anything from the start, so we're going to be looking for what the Kazan wants to pick up, potentially some size here. We have 3 Sparks showing up as well, which will make it very interesting at the end of this draft too.
This is very much a draft where you are thankful that your brawler is picking early, right? Because, like, especially the Kazan, there was only, like, 3 good awakes here, and then he was settling for a Spark, and he is able to get one of them, which is pretty big, but it just feels like Soondubu just scaled so hard on their already dominant first set performance here.
Yeah, the stacks for Kai is just going to be brutal. It's going to be so hard to get those off, and I think the Amy is going to try to find enough damage to get rid of the stacks, but it's going to be a tall task because they didn't get a lot of damage themselves in that draft. The size on Snake will make it a little bit more difficult for Shape, but Shape not really having to do much this entire game so far. It's just been the offense of Soondubu, as Fudgy Waffles almost getting KO'd on the side, and Soondubu taking charge of this point once again.
Yeah, I mean, Shape has pretty much just been able to AFK Wako Kitten with the secondary, as Fudgy does end up going down to the Pendulum Sling here. Gramella trying to push up towards this bottom side with Freezy, but Snake able to clear it with the crooked leverage, as Shape trying to restart this power play potentially up to Freezy, but Gumi does clear for now, puts up the Firewall Sentry, and fully stalls up this power play for Fudgy to come back online.
Yeah, if they do get a lot of power plays, I think that Amy turret is something that can do a good job of disrupting it on this map. Just cover up so much of that open space and not allow them to use it. But just over and over again, they're never really getting pressure on this second barrier. They want to be on offense with this composition, but Shape, Gramella are doing a great job in the defense of keeping that control, getting it to Breezy at the right times, not quite getting it there, but a lot of energy building. Breezy with the hook and puts it into the top side.
Yeah, it feels like that Gramella and Shape are just perfectly feeding Freezy the core, and Freezy is like converting almost every time against the same goalie, which is really hard to pilot on this defensive end against Rasmus, right? Especially since Freezy is just able to get these constant chances, it's making it near impossible for Gumi to really do anything.
Yeah, and something that I've seen at least some people go for is the momentum boots on Amy on this map, because it's really hard to jump in and get as much value. I think we've seen it a few times. Gumi, especially in stalling out the power plays, has been able to jump all the way in, but it has been difficult. But maybe that's the turnaround they need. Snake almost gets KO'd himself, but is able to instead KO Threezy, who had a full flip, so that's a big energy swing. We'll see if they can convert on this power play, but it's just an Era pushing up all on her own. Doesn't seem very likely.
Yeah, Snake unfortunately had to drop back for this orb to kind of heal up, and Grimella just like perfectly waits out everything and stalls out this power play here as Shape passing down to Grimella. Freezy with the Pendulum Sling does convert it. Gumi not opting to use the flip here as Fudgy with a flip of his own. He does end up using it, but it's cleared out by Shape pretty much immediately as the stacks are online here for Grimella. And a potential swing in momentum here as Gumi, in a pretty dangerous situation, does a flip. Actually finds a perfect clear to Snake, who is unable to really get an offense going.
Great job by Gumi to get the flip off there, and Snake does convert as well. The flip goes away, but all the core speed is going to set it up for Soondubu. A KO found on Gumi, but they don't quite get the goal just yet. We'll see if Fudgy can play some more goalie. He has been doing it this season. It goes past both him and 3Z, but unfortunately the hook from Snake is just not enough, and that's the first 5 points for Soondubu. I think one thing with these team comps is that in such an open map, especially when you have a Mako, you really need hit stun most of the time to be able to convert that barrier. And you have Kazan and you have Era, and so unless Gumi is really able to be involved on the offense, you don't have the hit stun that you need here, and I think that's been a big problem as 3Z just does it all that point. The hook keeps the core speed up, and that's 6-0 for Soondubu.
Yeah, and I mean, they just haven't stopped rolling, right? They're clearly proving the mastery they have of this comp, a pretty comfort comp for this team, and yeah, as you said, like, Gumi doesn't even have dash range to disrupt the Mako, but potentially could get it here in return of, like, sacrificing your team player, which is really scary to potentially see on the side of Soondubu.
Yeah, I think Soondubu would love to have team player, and they can have it drop all the way down to Shape here because of the way it goes, but instead going for the aerials, which I think does make some sense. If your team's on offense the whole time, being able to have that Mako speed, and like you said, not a lot to be able to cancel it, will be a help, but that does mean that Fudgy gets the team player, and if there is some way for this Era Kazan to maybe be able to get the barriers more consistently, perhaps it is the core speed of team player.
Yeah, passing around the Mako instead of just trying to go through her, which, what? Snake just dies to the Mako cage, but both barriers do go down to a rogue glitch pop by Gumi as Grimella does get staggered here. Is able to stay alive for now. Gumi, actually in a dangerous 1v1, is able to clear it away and pass it up to Snake.
Yeah, now Gumi dashing in that dash range that you talked about is a big help. Snake with a great conversion as well, sending it to the bottom side. So some great things that we hadn't seen in the first 2 sets at that point out of Demon's RAAH.
Yeah, I mean, Gumi scaling with this this dash range, I mean, exactly what he needed to kind of counteract this laid-back defense by shapeshifting, but almost actually loses both barriers, forced to use a Cyber Swipe defensively here, and the Firewall Sentry still loses the second barrier to Freezy with an incredible offensive play by him.
Yeah, this is like as the goal, Shape gets it on the sideline and all the core speed sends it to the top. This is like a build that you would see, you know, NXZD having on Amy Brawler, and you would be like, wow, that's exactly what he wants. But this is on an Oni Village Amy goalie. So it's a very interesting way that these drafts have gone, and you've seen it find some value, but the defense is still difficult. When you have to use those cooldowns defensively, it's just Soondubu getting more and more ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Gumi is just getting out cooldowned, right, by this primetime Rasmus. Infinite pendulum swings that already AB has troubles dealing with, and like Gumi just doesn't have the cooldowns to counteract it. If you're forced to use like the Cyber Swipe, your Firewall Sentry on defense, you're just not going to really break through shapeshifting here.
Yeah, the core just going around Fudgy constantly as a double flip goes there. Feels like they haven't been able to get a lot of value out of the team player either, which was, you know, really one of the prizes of that last draft. The Air Nado going up to the top here, but very scary. 3Z waits a little bit too long to use the flip, so it does go wide. They'll stay alive for now. With the Mako cage coming in, the primary from shapeshifting as well, just nowhere for the core to go, but into the goal.
Yeah, I mean, we're already on match point. This is, you know, the old, like, classic thing of like Oni Village games going long. This game has been so quick as Soondubu has been so dominant in these offensive pushes that Gumi hasn't been able to do anything. An immediate double barrier here from across map from Shape, and there's the point. They just take the game.
Yeah, 8 seconds on that last point, and we'll see what the time of the entire game was, but it can't be more than 10 minutes. And yeah, that was, you know, going in with the comps, we kind of had a feeling it might be something like that. Soondubu is one of the best teams, probably the best team in the league at Oni Village, and they practice it all the time, but I still don't think either of us expected a game quite that quick, as it was 9 minutes, 56 seconds. Shape only having to save the core 14 times, just really as dominant as you could be there.
Yeah, I mean, Fudgy almost has more saves than Shape, and it kind of just showed how strong this offense was. Shape could literally just press secondary and then AFK, and then just shoot a primary and an ult every once in a while and call it a day as your forwards just absolutely dismantle the defense here. As, I mean, Soondubu, on their map pick, showing this incredible dominance.
Yeah, and yeah, Shape getting a lot of damage as well there, as all he really had to do was send primaries in, send some ults in, like on that last point. And our second map, I believe, is going to be Amy Zap. Yeah, Amy Zap, which is Demon's Raw's pick, will obviously be completely different as far as the playstyle from Oni Village. But I think Demon's Raw are probably, thinking about how that draft went and how they can change things up here, because obviously you can't have it play out like that. But as we get to Amy Zap, it's really going to be Awakening dependent. That Rasmus and Julie are going to be high priority. The Drakkar, which we've seen a lot of the last couple weeks, I think it'll make for a very interesting draft, and hopefully one that maybe gets us a closer game than that.
Yeah, this is very much a big shift, right? I mean, obviously, Amy Zap is a lot more of a laned map. You can it'll pivot into a lot more damage. It's something that RAAH is probably going to be a lot more familiar with than Soondubu, obviously, because, I mean, Soondubu, very known Oni Village team, and if you're beating Soondubu on Oni Village, you're probably taking the series. So it'll be just a very much a bounce back game for Demon's RAAH.
Yeah, that's maybe not in that fashion, but it's kind of the expected outcome when you don't ban Oni Village against Soondubu. They pick it first. That's what's going to happen. They're very good at that map, and they showed that. But like you said, Demon's Raw I think lends itself more to the Amy Zap playstyle. I think Soondubu this season has found themselves a little bit. They are, if their best map is Oni Village, that means they're really a core control focused team. But as they try to adapt to, I think, what has been more of a damage meta than people maybe realized at the start, maps like Amy Zap are going to be a chance for them to really change up that play style. And we'll see what they do on this map. As we do have our starting awakenings, it's prize fighter and built different.
That is, you don't love your don't you love your prize fighter application games, especially at the size as well. I mean, this is, I mean, very high damage, a very big pivot from what we just saw, right? And of course, that is obviously what Demon's RAAH wants. They want this high damage, high KO pressure kind of gameplay, and we'll see how they pilot it. As bans on this map are always interesting, right? Soondubu opting to ban the Drakkar, guarantee either Rasmus or Julie.
Yeah. And Demon's Raw probably doesn't ban either of those because they want to get one of them themselves. I am interested in what they'll go for, and also like shape shifting most of this season. He plays the Estelle, he plays some of the ranged picks, but it has been a lot of Mako and Dubu and Atlas for him. I think maybe not Atlas, but especially Mako, like we saw in that last one. But I'm interested to see how their play style changes as we get to this one. And like you said, or like you reacted to, they did ban the Julie, and then the Rasmus gets picked, so they don't have either of those picks or the Drakkar here. That's really the three prio ones here.
Yeah, I mean, that's always like the big thing about Red Side app is you can react to the ban of the opponent and a lot of times get good value to freeze. But it's a little bit harder when like the good brawlers are gone, right? At least for this map. But they do end up opting for an Amy Estelle backline, which is very interesting, also quite strong, a lot of damage, pretty good at getting random knockback kills on this map too. But I'll be interested. It's most likely going to be like maybe a Zentaro brawler. You might maybe see an Asher or an X, but they still did pick up the damage that they kind of want, right? Which is big for
Yeah, they just kind of conceded the brawler position there, at least as far as the perceived meta picks on this map, and instead go for the Amy Estelle, which I think is exactly what they would want here. So they're really hedging on that duo, those two picks being strong enough for them here that the missing out on those first three brawlers doesn't matter. But yeah, I am curious what they go for in the third spot here, and it's going to be, it looks like Shape on the Finny, which I'm not sure how much we've seen from him this season, but it makes a lot of sense with the prize fighter and just a strong pick on this map. And yeah, like you predicted, it is the Zentaro brawler here for Snake.
Yeah, not surprising really. Zentaro's kind of like the extra brawler you kind of take in a lot of these situations. Very much kind of the last like really strong brawler, as we'd say, like kind of left to take here, as like your main meta brawlers a lot of the time nowadays are Julie Zen, but of course Rasmus very good on app. And Yeah, this is going to be a brawl, obviously, as we kind of expected, and we'll see if Soondubu can handle it, right?
Yeah, and if you're Estelle or Now or anyone here, like, do you think anyone goes for the built different, or is the size, like, especially against Erasmus, just a little bit too scary, and you just really go all in for that prize fighter?
I think you really just have to go in for this prize fighter value, right? I mean, the size can be scary, right? Because sometimes being big is a bad thing. You lead yourself to a lot more knockback KOs. You're easier to hit, and especially on this prize fighter start, where it's like you can get power scaling through that, and it's a lot more like volatile and swingy. You can kind of just swing games in your favor, literally immediately with one KO. But nah, it's very much, I think, going to be a 6 prize game.
Yeah, and that'll mean, especially the first points, the first KOs that come off the board are going to be even more of a swing than they normally would. And I'm curious if that means we see some pums in this game and from how many people. But yeah, this is like as back and forth as snowbally as it could be, because we do have Snake actually going for built different and vicious vambrace, so gonna try to just stay alive himself. But all the other 5 members, every single time someone gets KO'd, it's one prize fighter stack going to one side, it's one dropping off the other. It's gonna be a really big back and forth, especially early on.
Yeah, Snake really just opting to try and live, which is kind of what you have to do on the Zentaro, especially in this matchup. But we'll see how well that they can do it here, as Gumi is passing it down to Fudgy Waffles, unable to really find a KO here, as Shapeshifting already hitting level 2 with the big finish, unable to find anything. This bottom quarter push is just so much damage, even if they can't get this barrier, doing so much damage to both forwards of the side of Demon's Raw here, as immediately the KOs have shifted as Freezy takes down Fudgy here.
Yeah, he does have the pummel, so he's going to have some extra speed, but it's Grimella who's the one that wins the Strike War, sends it in. Snake was able to stay alive with the Vicious Vambrace, but Fudgy going down so early could be costly, as that second prize fighter stack, already 146 power on 3Z, who is level 2, who does have the pummeler, is very scary for you to maneuver around here if you're any member of Demon's Raw.
I mean, it just makes... This is what, the matchup is already so Soondubu favored just by 1 KO, and immediately Freezy gets another. Shape also getting a prize stack here, forced to use the flip to kind of hold on to the barrier here, but this power play is just now getting started as Shape hits Fudgy Waffles into the down primary, and another KO has dropped, and there's just so much pressure. Snake opting not to flip as the prize stacks, there's so many.
Yeah, and we have the Awakening overlay that we have this season, which is awesome. It doesn't show the active prize stacks, so right now it's 8 for Soondubu and 0 for the side of Demon's Raw. So almost as swung as it could possibly be, as they do go for some KOs. Snake finding a lot of damage, but this comp from Soondubu, you just have that now whenever they start to get low. They do lose the barrier there, and Fudgy with a great cross is almost able to find it, but enough time for Shape to save it. Gumi all the way in, overstaying the eject button, and it pays off there as he's able to find the right strike to the bottom side.
You know what? I found the win con. Put Snake in net. Truly the win con for Demon's Raw, as the immediate roll swap and Gumi is able to convert. This is what Demon's Raw needs.
Yeah, they've had a few different people play goalie this season. Maybe it'll be Snake in the future. But 3Z going for the hook, not quite finding it. Gumi looking for a return kill on 3Z, but I don't think they have the Now ult here, so gonna have to stay alive all on his own. But Shape stepping up, and with the triple take is able to find that barrier early on. They find a KO on Grimella as well, so as much as it felt like it had snowballed here, maybe it's still enough for Demon's Raw as they tie this set up.
Yeah, and I mean, everything is starting to shift back in Demon's Raw favor, although these price stacks are still really dangerous, right? All it takes is just one more KO. Freezy gets that pummeler speed, and Demon's Raw is fighting a really hard game, but they are doing a really good job at getting one kill, isolating a 2v1 against Shape, and capitalizing on it pretty much every time.
And they had a window there to maybe kill Grimella, but the cyber swipe from Gumi went wide, and now 3Z finds the KO, has a flip as well, doesn't even need to use it on the barrier, just going to have to use it for the goal. A great strike up to Fudgy, which just forces him to lose that strike war to Grimella. And although it started to slip away, it is Soondubu, who now have taken the first 4 sets of this series.
Yeah, I mean, they're just keeping the momentum rolling non-stop, as the A-Rush is a really interesting look here, right? Obviously, if all these KOs being traded, you kill one person, get a prize stack, get an Adrenaline Rush proc, it's so dangerous, and we'll see who it falls to. Shape opting to just take it for himself.
Yeah, as much as you would love to have that on 3Z, I think most of the time Shape is going to be assisting in these KOs, especially if you're keeping the offense up in the way that they have. Just those rogue secondaries, sometimes the cards hitting, means that he'll still be participating in a lot of these KOs. And 3Z going for the missile, which you never really see picked except for on this map. But, you know, there wasn't a lot of great picks for the Rasmus here. The missile will find some value, but, you know, they dodged out on extra special or specialized training showed up. At least, and the fact that the RAAAAHHH did have to go to the Finny, you know, there are some saving graces here for Demon's RAAH, but early on in this point, it's still on Soondubu.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing to note is there is a lot of damage picked up, right? This heavy impact prime time cooldowns. I mean, you just cooldown, chip down Grimella potentially, and that is exactly what they're doing here. Kind of just trying to keep Grimella in check, forcing out this evade, but Freezy, meanwhile, dribbling on this bottom side, almost wins the 1v3 as Grimella does go down. Shape is almost losing the barrier for it, but is safe for now.
Yeah, like 15 uncontested dribbles for 3Z there, but wasn't quite able to convert, and it's a KO found. 3Z's able to stay alive for now, but there he goes. All prizefighter stacks gone on the side of Soondubu, so the exact opposite of what we had last time. As Grimella Gumi, a bit of a misclear, almost a disaster. Grimella's able to hold on to it for now, and now with the ability set up, they're still not going to score. Somehow, Soondubu stayed alive through that situation.
Yeah, and all 3 flips are burnt, but Fudgy finally able to get this conversion. The big thing is, though, they don't have evades. Freezy did just use Hook, though. And, of course, they have 0 prize stacks compared to RAAAH's 6. But, I mean, RAAH, although taking that point, is not in the safest situation yet.
Yeah, and Grimella's getting forced down and used the lifeline fairly recently, so not going to be able to stay alive, I don't think. Has to fall back for this orb, and the barrier does go down. Gumi as well, pushing way up, but still able to save that all the way from back there, as Grimella in a dangerous spot, pushing up here. Not a lot of stagger here as the hook goes wide from 3Z, and, you know, complete opposite of what we saw last set. I think it's Demon's RAAH who's really in control here.
Yeah, it's just the volatility of prizefighter start, right? They got their first KO, and then there's nothing Soondubu can really do as they're just practically getting one shot as Grimella ends up going down right as he teleported back from the lifeline. It's such a dangerous situation for Freezy and Shape, and they're unable to do anything about it as Fudgy with an incredible piercing shot for the conversion.
Yeah, and last set we had this kind of situation, and Demon's RAAH was able to fight back and take it at least to a 0.5. So we'll see if Soondubu has the same kind of fight in them here as they're pushing up. Not really an energy advantage for them either. Shape and 3Z are getting close, but 3Z's going to have to retreat, get that orb. Grimella and Shape trying to find the pressure in the corner, but not quite able to, as Fudgy's pushing up, has a flip now, probably going to have to use it before he gets KO'd. Instead has to use it to stay alive, but it's Gumi who comes down, gets the KO on 3Z, and now dribbling in all himself, making Fudgy play goalie again, and does it all. Snake is the one who gets credited for the goal, but it's Gumi who made that play happen.
Yeah, Gumi roll swapping yet again really shows that he doesn't want to be in the net. Ends up glitch popping Shape out of the way, and it's just left Snake with an open net. And this heavy impact AV, don't you just love when, like, Cyber Swipe, a single ability that is ranged and hard to react to, just takes out half your stagger? Because that is really what Gumi's just able to do.
Yeah, and especially the last 3 points there, or all 3 points after the kickoff, basically had 3 prizefighter stacks as well. The Reptile Remedy, I was thinking to myself that I'm not even sure if it matters, but if there's anyone that can actually stay alive from that, I think it would be a Now who's able to get so many touches on the core. So we'll see if that's a big swing for Grimella. They did, you know, opt to give it over. They could have denied it there, but Snake getting 1-2 punch, Fudgy getting bulk up, and here we have the prizefighter roulette starts, and it's 3Z and Grimella both getting credit for that KO on Fudgy.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Soondubu needs, right? Every single time so far, the first person to get a KO is the one that ends up winning the set, and Soondubu trying to find anything here, but Fudgy actually with the Crystal Thorns is taking this barrier and pushing Soondubu back.
Yeah, and 3Z with the long-range hook hits it off the center, not really finding anything, and now just barely evades the dash from Snake, who's really looking for that KO, and it's Shape and Grimella. I think you've seen this a lot of them trying to have to set up the offense, but they're having to play a lot of defense right now, and it's just too much hit stun for Grimella and Shape to handle. So they did get the first KOs there, and they do have the lead in prizefighter stacks, but it's Demons who were able to fight back and get that point.
Yeah, an incredibly strong offense there. Actually, even saving Snake's flip, which is huge, but also does put a big target on his back. And as we can see immediately, Snake is getting jumped, but is able to survive. Force needs the flip. Freezy trying to get the hook on the now primary into the death touch for the KO, getting prize stacks and an A-Rush proc on everyone here as Gooby actually almost 1v9s for the full points.
Yeah, and it was a great ult by Snake to evade the Rasmus hook, but then just gets pushed into it afterwards as Shape and Gramella trying to get around these Crystal Thorns, around the piercing shot, and 3Z trying to find his barrier, but every time he's up there and playing offense, he just takes so much damage that he gets forced out of the play, and it ends up being Shape and Gramella who have to try to find this, and it's a great find from Gramella, but both forwards get KO'd, and now Shape is just going to have to try to wait it out, try to make some magic happen on his own. He is stalling a bit here as it comes up, uses the flip, doesn't quite find the angle into the goal, but it does mean Gramella and 3Z are both back on the pitch.
Yeah, a really incredibly well played stall here by Shapeshifting. Hopefully can give Soondubu the momentum they need here as the death touch not quite enough as Gumi is able to pop the glitch pop in time, forced to use the flip here. Shape almost own goals, but does end up striking thanks to the strike reset. Gramella and Shape holding it down for now as Snake in a really dangerous situation with this flip, but not even needed as he just dashes right through and takes the point.
Some heroics from Shape that time, but not quite able to save that in the top corner. Push Snake away with the dash, but the trajectory of the core was just going in there. And it's been the lead on the prize fighter stacks for Soondubu the whole time, but it's Demon's Raw really just winning in kind of the hero plays. I think Gumi has been coming up, making a lot of value happen. And 3Z, like we've talked about, has just been getting forced out of so many of these plays that is really hard for the offense to be consistent. Somehow that does get saved, but at the cost of Shape's life. 3Z will try to find the barrier, but Demon's Raw have a power play for 6 more seconds. Snake and Fudgy passing back and forth, and it's just a strike by Snake into the top corner. And Demon's Raw, after that first set, have looked dominant here.
Right, bouncing back. I mean, the moment that they got all the damage they did with the prime time, the heavy impact, they've just never looked back. I mean, they can just fight back so easily. Snake is doing a really good job of living, especially with this Vambrace, kind of making sure that Soondubu can't run away with this game. And they're just doing such a good job of just using strikes to get around people and like being able to save those cooldowns for damage.
Yeah, and kind of the gambit we talked about at the very start of if you go for size here, because it kind of puts more of a target on your back. Snake does not care about being a bigger target for these hooks, as now has built different Might of the Colossus and recovery drones. So going to have a ton of power, but going to be a big target as you see him right there. But the Super Surge, the Spark of Strength for 3Z, these last couple drafts haven't given him a ton as far as the hook value, which is really what you pick this pick on the map for. So the fact that, you know, nothing super valuable showed up in that first draft for 3Z has been, I think, a big swing in this game. And now it means that Demon's Raw are in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, and I mean, they're just showing this dominance. I mean, Freezy's taking so much damage in such a dangerous situation. Can't really find anything here, but that Super Surge damage with the Whiplash is actually quite a bit. Yet, Freezy is just getting taken so low, doesn't have an evade. Snake is lurking in the back line to potentially get a KO here as an incredible triple hold while they're just cooldown dumping Freezy, and they do finally end up getting it after all of these cooldowns are pressed. Potentially, can they get anything on this power play, though?
Yeah, and usually the triple hold means you're kind of not at a great position, but it means that none of the hook was never really at a risk to kill any of them there, and they were able to just cooldown dump 3Z. Like you said, Snake gets rescued, the recovery drone goes down, and now going to try to find some heals with this vicious Vambrace as the core goes around the back for the second time here for Shapeshifting, keeping it alive. A good clear there to get past the Firewall Sentry, which is, you know, timeless and Monu, so going to find a lot of value, going to be very difficult to clear through. But 3Z with all the core speed is able to get it past that time, and now it feels like every single strike is a red core as Gramella pushes forward, trying to find the goal, trying to find a primary, and it's a great pass down to 3Z, who just finds it in the corner. The teleport from Fudgy just a bit wide.
Yeah, I mean, incredible offensive setup here by Gramella, setting up Freezy. Don't even need the pendulum swing, but even if Fudgy saves it, you're most likely just getting a KO and the goal anyways. So an incredibly well set up offense by Soondubu, the exact bounce back that they need.
Yeah, and it's Gumi and Fudgy who both have 2 prize fighter stacks, and 3Z with 0, which is really who you want them on. But didn't matter there, and 3Z gets one right back as he finds the KO on Fudgy. That time, Snake taking a ton of damage as well. And Gumi misses the behind the back angle, gonna try to set up Snake, who's just completely forced out of this play. Grimella doesn't quite find the strike in time, and a great clear from Gumi means the point is kept alive. If they can ever get the core past the forwards of Soondubu, Snake was waiting back there, but now coming back to try to play defense, try to not be pressured out by the damage, and instead it's 3Z who's going to have to run away here.
Yeah, Snake is kind of just chilling upfield until Freezy gets low, and the moment Freezy gets low, you immediately see Snake drop back, but the misdirection snipes it past Fudgy and Gooby here. An incredible card here from Shape to take the second point, and they're on set point. We could potentially see a set 5 here.
Yeah, and that's something I've seen Shape and a few NASL players talk about is, you know, the momentum boots has become really popular on Finny, but that wouldn't have been able to happen without Strike Shot, the extra range, finding that goal, a great setup as 3Z and Grimella close in on Gumi here. Doesn't feel like he's going to be able to save it, but they do find a KO on 3Z at least as the barrier does get open, but Shape has a flip. Gonna have to use it defensively, sets up Grimella, who teleports ahead, tries to make it all happen in himself. But even though they don't get the goal, that's a power play stalled out here, and the barrier is still standing.
Yeah, the big thing to note is when you are using that lifeline for offense, though, you no longer have it for this healing. But Freezy might not need it with the pendulum swing pushing up, can't find anything. Gumi with the flip to clear it for now. The cyber swipe, the firewall section, the glitch plop. Grimella taken so low, but the barrier is held onto 4 now as Grimella is able to heal up. The death touch not quite enough here. A Snake actually ends up missing the flip, unfortunately. Soondubu pushing towards the top side. But now Primer disappears at the worst time for them here, and they are able to clear it.
Snake now dribbling, trying to make use of the stand braces if he does find any damage on himself. The strike from Grimella gets it past Gumi. The card almost scores for the second time, but not quite. Grimella now dribbling into the corner, and it's just 3Z coming in with the secondary, is able to make it happen, and now we will be going to a set 5. And I think you have extra special and spec training waiting for you here in the draft if you're 3Z.
Yep, and that's the unfortunate reality. Fudgy did not end up getting the flip. The Rasmus has scaled, gets the extra special, and now all of a sudden Hook is way more of a threat. It's way more common of a threat. And this is just what happens, right? You really couldn't let Soondubu win this and get back into the game with this draft, because this draft is so unbelievably perfect for them, right?
Yeah, the twin drive on Finny is going to be a ton of value as well. You get team player onto Fudgy for the second game in a row, which I think could find some value in these open net situations. The stacks on Snake, who has, I think, been able to stay alive for the most part with those Van braces, but just has been forced out of the plays so much that I'm not sure how quick those stacks will come up. But it's the threat of the constant threat now with the Happy Star for 3Z of that hook. Almost finds it on Gooby from the goal box, but doesn't quite KO. So that does mean the hook will be down for a bit. But Grimella, with the cooldowns of his own, is able to get the barrier. 3Z trying to set it up as well, but some well-timed strikes by Demon's Raw keep it alive now. But the hook is probably waiting to come back up, and 3Z is going to be looking for a KO here.
Unfortunately, just ends up missing it here on Snake. Keep in mind, if Freezy had one more prize stack, both Gumi and Snake would have been taken off the field, but instead it's Grimella that goes down here as Demons are all pushing towards his top side. The Firewall Sentry is used by Gumi to kind of help out this offense. Freezy taken very low, ends up getting KO'd as well, and Grimella comes back online, but the power play is still going. Snake actually goes down, but Gumi swapping position, trying to push up here with this flip to see if he can find anything. Shape trying to keep this power play stalled out, dribbling towards his bottom side with the misdirection, able to clear it, and Freezy gets back online.
Yeah, Gumi doesn't quite have the dash range to find that one that time, as Grimella with a great save with the primary, gonna keep the point alive. Now trying to make it happen, but the core just gets a little bit past him, and it gets down to Snake. And now we've talked about it the whole time. Snake was actually able to get 126 stacks of his stacks on stacks right there. And 3Z and Grimella both at 0 prize fighter stacks means that hook is a little bit less scary.
Something to note is I think this missile prop has genuinely griefed some of Freezy's kills, because I'm pretty sure that the creation version of it is now a lot stronger than the projectile version. And this missile prop is making it a constant projectile, and it's actually making it hard to get value out of. So, like, it genuinely... it doesn't feel like missile prop is helping at all, but it does not matter. The whiplash up to Grimella, an incredible passing play by Soondubu to bounce back here.
Yeah, it was a very awkward first draft that led to that. You know, the extra special and specialized training. We're waiting all the way for this last set. Like you said, a great offensive play from Grimella and 3Z, some of that synergy we saw on Oni Village. But now, in the chaos of this game, you haven't seen as many power passing plays quite like that, but we did see it there. Pass down to 3Z again, who's going to try to make it happen on this offense, but look at that aiming turret. It's just absolutely huge, but 3Z doesn't care, just gets through it with all of his abilities now. Has the hook, I believe, a clear by shapeshifting, gets it up to Grimella there. The prize fighter stacks not being there means the hooks don't kill, but it doesn't matter. 3Z just gets in, was able to build up a flip there, and 1 point away here from taking the series for Soondubu.
Yeah, and I mean, Freezy did an incredible job with this flip. Grimella is doing a really good job at just like starting these offenses perfectly. And it just kind of perfectly setting up Freezy for these points, and that's kind of what you need. They've kind of pivoted away from this KO and this damage, and they're just opting to just score before Demon's Raw can find these KOs, and that's honestly exactly what Soondubu's really good at. And they're really fully finding this win con here, as the damage is not quite enough.
Yeah, some great clears by Shape, set up a good offensive situation. Gumi's going to have to use the flip there, but 3Z might get KO'd. Shapeshifting using his flip, trying to find a KO on Snake, but it's instead just the strike shot, finding a clear through the middle. Grimella and Shape are not able to hold the barrier open, so they're going to have to stall out 6 more seconds of this power play, but with the Twin Drive Finny, with the ult up as well, they're going to be able to get most of that here before 3Z comes back. Some great clears there. It goes down to Snake, but it's kept alive for now. The hook backwards saves it as well, and that'll keep it alive, but it's a great pass by Fudgy to Snake with the team player speed, and we're going to a set 5.5.
I mean, what an incredible hold by all of Soondubu here, but it's just not enough. So many cooldowns thrown out, but the flip at least is used. Very little energy across the board for this final point.
And a great push in by Gumi there is able to get the barrier up open. Now gonna have to fight all the way back to try to find the barrier, find the goal on the other side. A ton of hit stun in the corner, and it's Snake with the primary who just stayed alive all game. Doesn't feel like we were saying his name quite as much, but so many of those conversions found by him, and we will be going to a map 3.
Yeah, got to this after the first set. Soondubu looked really dominant, but then Demons Raw kind of found their game plan, and then Soondubu found theirs, and it was just back and forth, but Demons Raw coming out on top here. I mean, Snake doing such an excellent job at just, like, surviving. And I mean, this Rasmus got, like, very little value for what you would kind of expect from, like, an App Rasmus with, like, hook KOs, as there's just so much damage on the side of Demon's Raw, and it's hard to really land a good hook connection when people are just on top of you, putting so many cooldowns out. It makes it really impossible to actually get any value on this hook, and that's kind of what you draft Rasmus on this map for, right?
Yeah, and you saw the versatility of Demon's Raw there, with Gumi having 46 saves and Fudgy having 40 saves. Gumi and Snake both matching the KOs of 3Z, like you talked about. And I think the fact, you know, of course, Demons just outplayed them there. Not to say that their win didn't count or anything, but the fact that the first draft, the best that 3Z was able to get was Missile Prop there, or at least he felt like it was the best he could get, and there really wasn't much that would have made that hook scarier, meant that Demon's Raw was able to stay alive in those middle sets enough that when the extra special showed up at the end, it just really wasn't much of a threat. And like you said, they kind of had to try to play more core control-y, try to just score before the KOs would come, and that's really not what you pick the Rasmus for. So the fact that the drafts played out in that way really just meant that they weren't really that scared of the Rasmus. And it came as close as it possibly could have, set 5.5. But Demon's Raw really, after that first set, like you said, looked dominant for Soondubu, and were able to fight back and take that map. And that will take us to a map 3 on Night Market.
Yeah, and Night Market, very much the neutral out of the two very opposite spectrums of what we've seen already, right? The very KO heavy map, the very core control heavy map. Night Market, you can do a bit of everything. And also known as a map that you can have pretty long, dragged out points for, which both teams like for different reasons. I think Soondubu very much enjoys the core speed and the core control aspects of it, but the longer points go on, the more damage that Demon's Raw can kind of put out. And it's kind of like, it's very much that double-edged sword.
Yeah. And like always, the Awakenings will kind of dictate how that happens, because, you know, we had a prize fighter start on Amy Sap. If it wasn't prize fighter, if it was something like Reptile Remedy, maybe Soondubu goes for something completely different. But yeah, it was just so much pendulum swing of the prize fighter stacks there. But we'll see what it is on Night Market. I'm curious for like the roles even that Demon's Raw play here, because I think, you know, Gumi in the midfield and in the goalie role has a lot of strong picks here, and Fudgy as well. You know, we kind of see them. We've had Gumi actually in the goal box both of these games, but them doing a lot of switching back and forth. So I'm curious if that's it feels like that would be less feasible on night market, but we'll see how it plays out, and what picks they're on will kind of dictate if they can continue to do that.
Big thing to know about night market is it's a laned map. You can kind of have your goalie push one lane, your midfielder push the other, and kind of flex off of that. And RAAAH is very much a team that is very comfortable having all three people play that, as we've seen. And so you can definitely get these rotations on night market, especially with like an eject goalie that can kind of like push up, or even long boots, and you can kind of just like push up, be aggressive on one lane. And if they're able to somehow rotate it out, a lot of the times your midfielder can come back and catch it. And most of the time, it's genuinely okay to like full triple push and sack one barrier for two and stuff like that. So it's very much. I think we'll still see like a lot of this like high aggression from Goomy as always, but and like these kind of rotational plays from Demons Raw that had worked really well.
Yeah, really impressive too, especially in such a chaotic game. That was quite the game to cast, I must say. Like the fact that they were able to, have those kind of coordinated rotations in what was such a back and forth chaotic game was really impressive. And Night Market, like you said, a lot of those long, drawn out points where it's kind of a war of attrition. And we'll see if they make use of that flexible play style, those rotations, to try to get an advantage in those very long points.
Yeah, and we have two aspects here. We have the core control and speed of stacks and the damage of missile prop. It is we have like a perfect balance here. It's great, and it'll be interesting to kind of see how this goes down, right? Because obviously you want to stay alive with stacks, and missile prop can kind of counteract that, but you miss out on that speed that is really really valuable to have.
Yeah, it feels like the brawlers. Well, I was gonna say no matter what, the brawlers will be taking stacks here, and like something like a Julie will be banned. But obviously, the Drakkar, which we've seen a ton of the last couple weeks, is very scary with the missile prop start here. And I think is also really good into what Shape has been playing a lot, which is like Finny and Era. I think the Drakkar can be really strong into that. Like we, maybe saw earlier today, even. Um, I think the Drakkar is really scary here, and I'm curious for which team has it. I know that 3Z has picked it on occasion. I'm not sure if I've seen Snake on it, but I'm curious if it'll get banned here.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that is very much the only pro you're going to get missile prop value out of. As the Phineas Bandway makes sense. Obviously, stacks and missile both really good, and the Julie band, like 95% with darker character. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see it either if I'm red side. And there's the classic thing here of like banning Finny picking Era, which is something I've seen a lot lately, especially on like a map like Night Market, and especially with the speed and stuff. It's been a very common opener for a lot of teams in draft.
Yeah, and I would expect that the Drakkar might be the pick here. Instead, going for the Zentaro, which I think can be really strong into the era. It's like Drakkar, a brawler that doesn't care as much about the size that you have. Gonna go for the Zentaro and the Now. I think the Now with the pancake start. If you're just able to stay alive and not too much damage is taken on the side of Demon's Raw, that will be a very strong pick, and I think can really control those lanes on the night market here. But I'm curious for what the brawler pick is going to end up being for Snake here, because I feel like we've seen him on Julie and Zen like most of their games this season, just off the top of my head. And it's going to be the X here, so the X era being set up.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, right? This very high scaling comp with a scaling awakening like stacks. Um, very much can make it so you can run away with this game. I You haven't really seen like a crazy amount of X. I mean, this character is kind of like I think a mid-tier brawler from my experiences, but very much a classic combo with the Era and the Kai as well. So very much it's just a funnel the core to X kind of comp. And I think that RAAAAHH is going to do very well with this style of comp, especially on Night Market. So it'll be quite interesting to see.
Yeah. And we've seen Fudgy especially in the midfield role, playing the era quite a bit. So once it was picked, I did assume, I think with other teams, you would have assumed that's in the goal box, but for them, it's best served in the midfielder role here on Fudgy. But it is going to be the Vice going here to shapeshifting. So that's kind of the wild card, the wrench thrown into this draft. We had it was kind of looking like everyone was probably going to be taking stacks. And like it was just going to be a core control scaling type of game. But the Vice does kind of throw a wrench in that, make it a little bit interesting. Probably going to be taking the missile prop here. And considering they're the one with the Now, I'm curious if they're going to have enough damage to take down potentially the Era, potentially the Kai here. I don't know if you'll go for Snake because he's shown how good he is at surviving here. But that Vice is an interesting pick here.
Big thing to note, if you are able to take out Snake, you kind of take out so much of this pressure that this comp has. Because, yeah, this is very much like funnel the X, buff the X. X does billion damage in the corner while getting your barriers. And if you are able to take down this X, which is very, very doable, X is a really immobile brawler, even with how good Snake is at surviving. It is going to be quite hard. And this Vice is a really good counter pick into this. Kind of just play the X at range. You primary the X, your Chain Lightning clears it away. Like, it makes it really hard for X to kind of get in your face a bit more, as Vice can just has so many tools to counteract that. So I think this Vice counter pick is going to prove a lot of value.
Yeah, and also if you want to set up the X with size, which is typically what you do, like you said, that just Vice primary and the Chain Lightning clearing the core away, especially when you have all the size on the X, it's going to be kind of unavoidable. So yeah, I'm interested in how that kind of counter pick does work here. And yeah, I'm also interested in what awakening or what gear rather Snake goes for here, because I think we've seen him on Van Braces like quite a bit this season. Feels like you're gonna need the speed here. You do have the era speed, but not anything starting. But I am interested in what he goes for here.
Yeah, I mean, Vambrace X is actually a lot of value. I mean, you're hitting people so often. You like Bellringer once and you heal like 2/3 of your stagger. And it counteracts this weakness of damage. But being even slower is really hard, right? You do really want to have speed on this character. And like you're gonna get that through stacks, but that is probably actually going to be why we like to see a Vambrace, although I think Eddie extra speed on X is very much nice as well.
Yeah, and if Soondubu plays it right, they might just be able to keep the core away with if X has the Vambrace enough that the stacks don't get on time for it to really be a factor. Like maybe they get 2 points on the board before the stacks are stacked up, and then you just need to find one more. And the X, the first couple points is just too slow to really make too much of an impact. So yeah, we'll see what he goes for here. But as we're waiting into this game, only so much you can say before we see it play out. But I assume just like a bathroom break or something from one of these teams. But this is our first map 3 since week 3. It was the last game of week 3 as well. It was Hug against Demons Raw. So Demons Raw loving the game 3s this season. And we'll see what we have in store for us in this Westy matchup.
Yeah. It's very weird how little game freeze we've seen, because like these teams feel really close, like in competition wise, like even like standing space. Every team feels like they can beat every team, as we've seen, but very little game freeze still. I mean, teams have, when they're winning pretty dominantly. I mean, some of these games are close, obviously, but it's very rare to go to a game free. And as we're getting into one right now, right? So it's exciting to be able to see.
Yeah, it's something we mentioned on the pre-show, I believe, but not really at the start of this game, is kind of the weight of this one, because I think both of these teams, Soondubu coming off an S tier win in California, and Demons Raw always being toward the top of the league. Both teams that I think had very, very high expectations going into the season, and they both find themselves at 2-3. So the team that loses this is likely going to have to win out their season to be able to make playoffs. And the team that wins this is going to be in that kind of middle of the pack. So this is a really important map for both of these teams that I think going into the season wouldn't have thought that they were going to be at, 2-3 at this point.
Yeah, as Snake, 7 seconds in, takes both barriers, scores, as Demons Raw really want it. They want to prove why they've been a top team for this many seasons. And really strong start.
Yeah, and Snake did go for the Magnetized Souls here. Decided that the damage wasn't enough, that he needed to go for the Vambrace, which I think is probably a good assessment here, as Fudgy has the slick kicks on the Kai. Going to be taking a lot of damage early on, and, the stacks are really what the Kai wants to come on board. If they take him down early, it's going to take so much longer to stack up. And it is Threezy who's able to find that KO. The core gets past Gumi as well here. And I didn't even notice it is Gumi on the Era instead, and the Kai going over to Fudgy Waffles. That is interesting. And the Pauldrons for Gumi as well. That extra size going to try to, win some strike wars and also stay alive, do a little bit more damage. But I did think it was going to be the other way around, so I'm interested in how Gumi pilots this pick in the goalie role, because I know we've seen him play it in the midfield as Snake gets almost KO'd there.
Snake is playing the survival minigame yet again, is able to win it this time as well, using the X Maximus to try and push up here, unable to find anything as Freezy does get the clear, but Demon's Raw trying to push towards this top side, but it's actually Freezy that is forcing Gumi's flip out here as a barrier almost taken on this other side, but Shape able to clear for now.
Yeah, trying to get it to Grimella to get it past Fudgy here. The flip used by 3Z and the perfect angle found to the bottom side just beats absolutely everything. A much longer point there, obviously, than the first one. And it was Fudgy who's down all the way to 30 stacks. Grimella and 3Z both over 100. So, you know, last map we were looking at the prize fighter stack. This time it's the stacks on stacks. And it's Soondubu winning that early on.
Yeah, Zentaro and Now both notoriously really good for building stacks, so you kind of expect this, and that's why you kind of expect them to start running away with it once they get these first sets of stacks up, but it's actually Demon's Raw that are pushing back here and able to take both barriers, but an incredible angle by Grimella off the flip to take the second barrier here, forcing Dubu.
A beautiful angle found there means that the flip found a ton of value when it was really just kind of used to survive on the side. Gonna try to get it up to 3Z to make this play happen. That era just does not have the defensive tools to be able to survive a consistent onslaught from Soondubu here, but it's 3Z Breezy hitting the field goal there between Gumi and Fudgy, and it's a second goal here for Soondubu as they both reach full stacks.
Yeah, and I mean, Gumi and Snake are getting kind of close, but this is where the stacks value of just being so much faster than the opposing team, at least for now, kind of need to capitalize on, as Snake is able to get max stacks and both barriers here. Has the flip, but it's forced to use it to stay alive as the Supernova is used, but it outlasts the evade, and a disturbing bounce means Snake is taken off the field.
Yeah, he's found so many double barriers early on in this game, but that time it's not enough. A great clear from Gumi, though, is able to keep this power play alive, and Snake is back online to try to make it happen. The Giga from Fudgy trying to stun Grimella, but still able to take control of this midfield, rotate it up to 3Z Breezy, but it is Snake getting close here. Shape, though, having the flip here is going to be big. For defense, potentially tries to make it happen on offense there, but not setting anything up, and Grimella just once again trying to rotate this to 3Z, but the Era and Kai have so much speed to push ahead that, you know, he's not able to keep the core for any long amount of time, but does win the interaction there to get both goals open here.
Yeah, and I mean, Grimella pushing up with this flip, it's kind of in an awkward spot here, and Snake is able to clear it. The Fudge is looking really low. You would not want to lose these stacks, not right now, not when you're so close to building up all of them, but does stay alive for now, as it's Freezy actually looking low here, as Snake dribbling, trying to find some sort of offense here, but there's just so much cooldown dumping from Freezy and Grimella to kind of hold things off for now. Freezy taking really low, Grimella no evade as well, could potentially see a KO here, but Soondubu trying to score before that happens.
And Snake getting the middle, threatening a lot of speed right there, and Fudgy pushing all the way in with this flip, just absolutely nothing a Vice can do to defend that there. Tries to get the ultimate out, but it's just not in time, so we will go to a 0.5 here. It's now Fudgy, Gumi, Grimella, and 3Z all with the full stack. Snake did get KO'd, so only at 70, but a lot of speed on the board here as Demon's Raw all just converging, trying to win that kickoff, but nothing found yet as 3Z and Grimella try to set up this offense once again here.
Yeah, an immediate double barrier by Freezy, just winning back-to-back strike cores to take both. That is the danger of night markets sometimes. When you're out of cooldowns, you could just lose a strike core and then another, and you have an open net, and Shape just continuing the winning streak on these strike cores and converting to take this set.
Yeah, just does it absolutely all his own on the goal there. 3Z won a couple of big strike wars for the barriers, and it's Shape making it happen. So both of these teams, I think, have a lot of scaling in them. So that first set going over to Soondubu is a big turnaround here for them. And as we load in here, I'm looking at the hot shot here potentially for the Vice. But yeah, kind of a hard draft to parse here. It is going to be the team player going over to Fudgy for the third game in a row, and it is hot shot going to Vice.
Yeah, the Steam player, especially in these longer night market points, are going to get even more value. Already Strong Awakening getting more value is really scary. But Snake actually isn't going to scale a ton. The prize fighter is very scary, but Snake hasn't been able to find KOs and has been getting KO'd himself. So it'll be quite interesting to see if Snake can find the value of this.
Yeah, and his teammates didn't really find any additional damage here either. So it's going to kind of have to be all himself, making that happen. So we'll see if he's able to get any of those stacks early on. But 3Z and Grimella, I think, have just been making such good use of these vertical rotations over and over. It's just Grimella sending it up to 3Z and 3Z trying to find the barrier. That time isn't able to, but it's just been such a consistent offense here. Whereas Snake, it feels like, has to fight so much to get the core for any long amount of time, and 3Z is just winning so many strike wars to get these barriers here.
Yeah, it does really just feel like a strike war diff from Grimella and Freezy, who have been playing these so well, able to just keep this onslaught pressure on this Era goalie comp, which is not what you like to see, making it really hard for Snake to find value, as Fudgy ends up getting taken quite low here, but Snake, with this flip, is trying to potentially find something on this top side. Can't find anything for now, as Fudgy does go down, but the barrier taken, the flip used, Grimella goes down, a price stack is built as Shape with flip in this 2v2, trying to pass it up to Freezy. He does end up using the secondary here, teleports up and gets the flip goal, and Gooby's flip gone. I mean, what a hero play by Shape.
Yeah, 2 points in a row. It's been a hero play by Shape, and it was great as well by 3Z, who dribbled it up, was able to stall just long enough that the secondary was still there for Vice, and a beautiful play once again to set up that goal. And it just feels like there's so many ways for Soondubu to score and to get barriers here. And, you know, when Demon's Raw has been able to get the barriers open, it's been a lot of double barriers immediately from Snake, who there has all the speed, but Shape once again and Grimella, they're just winning every strike war, it feels like.
Yeah, and I mean, now the onslaught of damage coming on to Snake as well, doesn't end up getting taken down, losing the prize stack and the stacks on stacks, as this barrier taken by Shape. Freezy unable to find anything there. The passing back and forth, Grimella to Shape, up to Freezy, the power chord as well to help out to take this point. I mean, Shape just keeps scoring.
Yeah, 3 goals in a row for Shape. And that missile propulsion and hot shot combination, it's just so much pressure here on an Era. And, you know, we've seen a lot of double barriers on both sides in this map, which is kind of to be expected with an Era and a Vice combination. But if the side of Demon's Raw, if their comp isn't keeping it on offense consistent enough, the Era isn't going to find the offensive value that a Vice can, as they're setting up the offense here. They have some good vertical passes there to set it up. Nothing found quite yet, but it is Demon's Raw in control of this point, as Grimella and 3Z are pushed back and forced to play triple defense here.
A good hold for now, as they're out strike goring, they're out core moving, and they're out damaging Demon's Raw here. They have 3 flips online. This is so hard for Demons to really find anything here, as Gooby forced to use the Maelstrom. Can't find anything for now is Grimella, but 2 more flips are still on the board for the side of Soondubu, as Freezy trying to potentially find something with it. Does end up getting stopped by the Vice secondary. Snake forced the flip to stay alive, but does end up forcing Freezy's flip as well here.
Yeah, 2 flips used, and the barrier still isn't open as Fudgy and Gumi push in. Snake taking that speed gate and then falling back a little bit to play some goalie for a moment there. But now Fudgy with that team player as we hit overtime. The hot shot from Shape is going to be a big risk when we're in overtime, but the team player from Fudgy as well, as you're starting to see. But it is 3Z dashing in, able to make that happen. We'll see if he can win another strike war. The flip is used and not finding anything, but Grimella just trying to set 3Z up for this, who's very low on stagger here.
Yeah, Grimella just now hitting max stacks could be really huge for this potential speed boost, as it is enough, and Freezy with an incredible dash to hit Gooby out of the play and take the second set. I mean, Soondubu just looks so dominant now again.
Yeah, it's looking a lot more like Oni Village than Amy's half, where we had so much back and forth. It's a lot of back and forth within the points here. That one getting to overtime and so much core speed, making it a very chaotic play there. But it is Soondubu who just looks so coordinated on this offense, and they're rewarded here with heavy impact showing up for the Vice.
Yeah, the heavy impact, you know, Era might get on you, but then you're now just gets like fight or flight, and at least Snake is able to get a little bit of survivability. And size, you know, it's quite helpful.
Yeah, 3Z taking the twin drive, I think against something like an Era who doesn't have the defensive tools to deal with those stuns from the Zentaro does make a lot of sense. Is going to be strong, even though he was the last picking member on Soondubu. But a really strong draft for Soondubu, as you see that fight or flight in the stacks as Grimella just pushes up and wins everything, all the speed, not much that Gumi can do. Barrier does get returned on that side, but Fudgy goes down, and now Grimella and 3Z try to make this goal happen with some help from shapeshifting. The tornado is going to stall it out for now, and they do keep it alive.
Yeah, Freezy trying to dash in, unable to find anything as Fudgy gets back online here. Grimella is so fast, but not fast enough to catch up to Fudgy, who does not end up getting its shape. An incredible clear around everything here as Freezy trying to find something this top side, but it is cleared down to Grimella, who is just flying down this bottom lane, unable to find anything. Snake in the 1v1 actually ends up winning, gets Shape. I think Shape could have striked that, but Snake with the reaction time check to just win.
Brain destroyer from Snake as he hits it right back to where shapeshifting was, and that could be a difficult clear as when you're already moving up, it doesn't feel like you're covering that anymore. So yeah, just didn't strike in time, and Snake is able to get a prize fighter stack right there, up to 2 now. Uses the flip, but it gets matched away by 3Z Breezy, but that does mean the stacks are gone for Grimella, but the stacks as well are gone for Snake right there.
Yeah, just trading KOs back and forth as it's now Soondubu on the power play. Could potentially find something here. All the offensive pressure is just too much for really Demons to do anything, as this air goalie is just going to collapse under this triple offense, really.
Great barrage, though, by Fudgy does even it up, so we have one barrier on each side, but all the speed from Grimella and 3Z feels like so much pressure, although the X Maximus comes back here, turns it around for just a moment. The speed from 3Z, we'll see what he does with it, but ends up getting shrunk and kind of stalls out the play. The Tornado setting up a lot of pressure here as well, and the core just gets around everyone the perfect angle, and Gumi not in position to use the flip there.
Yeah, Gumi just left the net, kind of left that top side open too, which is exactly where Soondubu were trying to lurk up and push, and just getting punished for it instantly. You just kind of can't really get away with that, as I mean, that's just such a momentum killer for Demons RAAAAHH here.
Yeah, Grimella and 3Z pushing into the corner, very close to flip for both of them, and Shape close as well. Really everyone in the game nearing a flip, so we could have some fireworks here shortly. First flip gets used there, and now Shape taking advantage of that, comes in and gets the kill. Fudgy almost KO'd as well, but Shape is able to push all the way ahead. The KO is found, and it's the pass from Shape to 3Z as well, putting Soondubu just 1 point away.
We might have walked into the glowing triangle, unfortunately, as Fudgy gets taken down, and stacks are nearly fully reset on the board for Demons RAAAAHH. Soondubu has so much momentum, they're just keeping it going, and they might be unstoppable.
2 flips used there to try to stay alive from Snake. They take some damage, but they deal some damage back to Snake, who's going to have to fall all the way back with the use of the speed gate, gets the orb, and is now back online. But great defense from Shape, and extra core speed means he gets a barrier as well, sent up to the corner into the Maelstrom, but not finding anything, although a KO does get confirmed on Snake here, and just 1 power play to be converted for Soondubu, who's pushing in with all this speed. Grimella in the corner trying to find a pass to 3Z, cut by Fudgy for just a moment, but 3Z, Grimella, shape-shifting, all in the goal right there, and it is a 2-1 here for Soondubu Strikers.
Yeah, I mean, they brought back the dominance from game 1, right? And they just looked unstoppable yet again. They're kind of just shutting down these, like, really high-pressured comps from Demons RAAAAHH and making it so that they can't build this pressure that they really want to with these comps. And it made it really hard for Gooby to find any value in, like, flying forward, because pretty much every time he did, he either got KO'd or punished for it. And they just couldn't get the core to Snake enough. I mean, the Vice did a perfect job at kind of counteracting that.
Yeah, it was a great pick, and, you know, we talked a lot about the strike wars and the offense from Breezy and Grimella, but shape-shifting was just really doing it all. Found 3 goals in a row in the middle of that game, had the most redirects in the game here, the most damage as well, 2 KOs and 3 goals. Just a fantastic performance on a pick that we haven't seen as much from this team, but absolutely dominant there, and we had really a dominant first and third map from Soondubu, a very close, hard-fought game by Demons RAAAAHH in the middle there, but it is, like we talked about at the start of that map, that was a very big game for the standings, and it is Soondubu who now find themselves at 3-3 in playoff contention.
Yeah, this is really rough for RAAAAHH, who have probably wanted to have, like, the strong start to the season that we've always seen them have, and it's very rare for this team to not perform so well, but Soondubu just looked like so much better. Like, Soondubu just, once they got momentum, they didn't stop. They just kept scaling. They just kept outplaying, and it really did feel like they just out-strike ward, like, and out-move the core. They did a really, really good job at rotating the core, winning all these crucial strike cores, not really needing their abilities to win these interactions, and it made it so that they could kind of also win the damage war at the same time. And that was the really big difference maker for Soondubu and changed everything for them.
Yeah, so we finally had a map 3 once again. It had been a few weeks. That is our last game of the day, but it's not the end of the show. We will have a post show with a few of our winners from today, maybe someone from the game that we just saw, and they'll get to gloat a little bit. Don't go anywhere, as we will have that post show, and stick around. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NASL Season 6 broadcast of Week 6. I'm here with 4 of the winners from today. And, well, first of all, the most impressive victory, the most surprising, I'm sure, the 5% predictions. We of Wee's Little Bees, what happened?
We came in today fully prepared to lose, but our main goal was to have fun, and we had fun.
Yep. Well, it looked pretty fun. Talk me through the game 1 strategy, because game 2 was a good win, but game 1 looked so decisive for your team.
Yes. Carmine decided he felt like playing DUBU. I decided I felt like playing Kazan. And I think Trevor was on Era, and he's been practicing the Era. And we laughed a lot. That was about all the preparation we did.
Nice. All right, and moving on to the match that happened next. 2-0 EKC over Showtime in pretty violent fashion. Soren, it was an EKC classic. And now you're sitting tied for first. How does that feel?
Pretty good. A little bit of weight off our shoulders because that's pretty much close to what we need to be to guarantee playoffs already. Not, I don't want to be like not cocky, but we weren't really surprised. I think we are very confident this season compared to last two, where we do think we're probably the best, if not like a top 2, top 3 team right now with how the meta's going. So we're really excited to play against Showtime again after them kicking us into losers and realistically pretty much kicking us out of playoffs because that match killed our vibes last season. So it's nice to get our revenge in a very brutal way. I think we dropped like over 40 KOs on them in 2 games. It was pretty fun. Huss took it pretty well. We were killing him on repeat, and he was DMing me after, like talking about scrimming like literally a minute after. So it was a fun match though. We like the Julie comps, obviously.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of talk about Julie, past, present, and future, especially for NXCD. But talk to me a little bit about the IME goalie. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I'm the only. I think me and Lily are the only like NASL IME goalies left that are on main role. The rest of them either swapped, quit, or not really like playing her at all anymore. But I think she's still like a top 3 goalie right now. I know that's an opinion not shared by others, but I think she's just really hard to pilot to where like I probably don't pick her as much when I'm having to play Central because of the ping disadvantage. But like Ohio, I get like 28, so I'm fine locking her every game. I know I've got like the skill on her to just kind of do whatever I want, and the pressure that that character gives with a character like Juliet, like I can kind of just sit there keeping the core on like the edge of the map permanently, put a turret down, do a million damage, and then watch my Juliet drop 20 KOs in a game.
All right, and the Soondubu Strikers, the only 3-game series of the day, taking it over Demons RAAAAHH, and there are 2 of you. So how was it?
That was awesome. The Soondubu Strikers, we are back. Okay, last night it was 2 a.m. I was bored out of my mind, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna actually put some work in. And the reason I sat there for like 3 hours, Shape was yelling at us because we were up so late. And we really did a deep dive on like drafting and the meta game and what we think is good right now. And that's when we're at our most confident. And I think that confidence really showed today. The only time I had any questions about how the game was going to go going into game today was game 2, and we ended up losing. So I think there's a correlation there. But the Soondubu Strikers are back. We're gonna sweep the league. We're the EKC could be number 2. We'll be number 1 to close out the season. It's fine. What about you, Freezy? Well said.
Or
Well
from
said.
bro, I get it.
Well said.
What happened to 3Z?
I mean, I don't have anything to say. He said it.
All right. And going back to you, we 2-4, still alive in the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very doable to make playoffs. Take a look at your schedule up ahead. Which matches are you looking most forward to, or maybe the least forward to?
I'm looking forward to all of them. I'm like so happy that I'm even here. Like there's no match in NASL that I'm not looking forward to right now.
All right. And with EKC closer to guaranteeing that playoff picture, you're facing off against definitely some of the harder teams coming up next. How are you feeling about that, Soren?
I don't know. I think Hug is probably like the one team in league that we're scared of, just simply because they've historically kind of had a really solid game plan into us that we haven't really figured out. That being said, we kind of beat them hard enough that they role swap this season, so I'm feeling pretty good into them this season. Caliland vibes. But yeah, I think we're excited. I'm really excited for the match. I'm just giving shit because I love Vaughn. He's probably my favorite goalie in the league right now to talk to about stuff because he has a pretty good understanding of the role, and it's very fun to get an insight from him coming from.
Wait, why didn't you roll
Yeah.
swap, Soren?
Because there's no
Caliland
goalie,
vibes.
bro. I wanna, yo. Okay. All good. I would love to roll swap. Unfortunately, none of my teammates, they understand how shit my role is to play, and they don't want to play it.
Oh, goalie is so weak.
Yeah,
Cry me a
goalie's-
fucking river, Star.
I'm so unfun to play,
Jesus.
bro. Trust me, I've been scrimming like permanently on off roll. But yeah, I think that's gonna be probably our hardest opponent out of the season. I know. Hey, I'll be completely real. Like, I'm still not an RTF believer, so I'm excited to fight against them because, like, just from prior experience, like playing them, I've had a pretty good read on Leo and how to play into him, and that's kind of that team's like entire gimmick is they kind of play like us, where they try to kill people, but I don't know how they're gonna kill people when like they're playing us because we do it better. And Leo's a really good brawler player, but I've kind of got him. I've kind of got on him raid a little bit. So PPL, I've been glazing PPL pretty hard actually. I think they're a really good team. They actually have a positive win rate over us. We've only beat them once, which was to get into NASL season 5 after we missed out on playoffs, which is really funny to think about. But every weekly or like big tournament we've played them, they've kind of just like ran through us, which is kind of funny. But I don't know. We're not too worried. Gonna get on the grind a little bit more. I know me like and Katsuna have not been playing at all, so we got to try to start practicing and get ready for the upcoming playoffs because this is pretty much looking like EKC's mainly last season together right now. So it's my last chance to get an S tier.
All right, and finally, Soondubu Strikers, looking forward to the final third of the season. Any big thoughts?
Yeah, I'm really scared of week 9.
Yeah.
That I've got that one marked on my calendar. We got to play against LeBron in week 9.
We brought
Oh
man.
yeah.
We got to play against Weebron. I don't know
Good luck,
how I'm
you'll
feeling
need
about
it.
that. Other than that, I think we've got our own thing figured out, and that's all that really matters for us is that we feel like we know what we're doing. I don't care as much what other people are doing right now. I think most other people are also kind of doing some things wrong anyways. So we're really, really confident going into this break and into the last 3 weeks of the season. But if there's any hurdle we got to get over, it's we gotta clear Weebron.
Good luck.
And speaking of Braun, it's time for shout outs. So I know you have a lengthy list. Who are you shouting out?
Oh my God, do I? I should have written them down. Oh my goodness. I mean, I gotta shout out Oppabug. Like he coached me more than anyone else ever. And of course 3Z and every single other brawler that has ever coached me, because there is a long list of them, and I do not remember them all right now. And
We brought this.
oh yeah, brawler life. I also got to shout out my team because they're goats and they're a blast to play with. So much fun.
Right. Soren, what are your shout outs?
Sure thing. I've got a list too. I mean, shout out my teammates. They played great today. NX has taken a pretty good job of like learning how to communicate in game, which is a really huge thing for us. A big step for EKC, and it definitely showed in our match today. Shout out to our coach Borg. He wasn't really present this week, but was still there, like cheering us on, kind of giving us a little bit of tips when he had time. Shout out to our subs. I know they haven't really got any playtime, but I know Flowers and Zanseki are our subs right now. Flowers has been there like every scrim, if not game, kind of just like talking to us and cheering us on. So that's a really good morale boost to have. Shout out to all the EKC chat people always cheering us on every week. Shout out to some of my IRL friends, my GF. I had Yoki in chat too, by the way. Yoki was cheering on today after his he had an unfortunate loss yesterday. So I mean, Yoki's my favorite guy ever, so shout out for him being there. And shout out for Josh. Josh is always my biggest believer, and I love that guy. Guy, is he above or below me? Below me. Yeah, that guy.
Damn. Okay, well, Romelo and 3Z, final shout outs before we disappear.
Yeah, you got any shout outs?
Yeah. All right. Shout out to warm up squad as always. Shout out to Cardbox for getting berated in VC and
I mean, that guy's the worst.
just putting up with it like a beast. I love that guy. Shout out to the Soondubu Strikers, man. They didn't want us to be up the way we up, man.
Shout out mom and dad, man.
That's facts.
Shout out mom and dad.
That's facts.
All right, I got some shout outs. I also got a shout out Oppabug. If it weren't for Oppabug,
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't have qualified for NASL Season 1, and then I wouldn't have been grandfathered into NASL Season 2, and I was terrible back then, so I wouldn't have qualified for NASL Season 2, and then I would have never got NASL level practice, so I would have been a terrible player forever, and I wouldn't be here. So shout out Oppabug. He's the greatest player of all time.
Real.
Shout out 3Z for staying up with me all night. That was a big W for our team, for our confidence. And then shout out Liari.
Okay, well, it looks like we're done here. Thanks everyone for watching another week of NASL. We have a break week coming up. But that's about it for week 6, and see you next time.